Hey guys, Jsnow with a quick deck tech for you guys. So instead of going into super details and making long videos, we're just going to go over what the deck does, how it works, what are the win cons, and the fun gameplay footage. So real quick, the win cons are spam the Slitherwisp trigger. So every time you cast a spell with flash while Slitherwisp is on the field, your opponent loses 1 life and you draw a card, and it does stack. So if you have 3 Slitherwisp, you will be drawing 3 cards, and your opponent loses 3 life every time you play a card with flash. Second win con is Ashiok Nightmare Muse. For some reason, people have trouble dealing with this. I have trouble dealing with this, but I guess the bounce it back and then being able to make a blocker to defend itself every turn, it just makes it crazy, but it's just really good. And then if you do happen to get the -7, which I have had happen once or twice, it's like game over. It's just a great stall card, especially since we're playing a flash deck. And then the last win con is Ulamog or Golos, because I just want to flash in an Ulamog on somebody's turn. Yes, or even a flash in a Golos and do a Golos trigger. So let's go right into the gameplay. Now, the major goal of this deck is to actually defend yourself. So right here is a great example of somebody playing the big board that gives everybody haste and trample and crazy stuff. So the card Tail's End is pretty amazing because it counters abilities and it counters legendary creatures. So right here I'm going to counter the boar ability. So it's amazingly awesome because you can counter the legendary spells if you want to, but it's mainly used for the abilities, because when people think they got their full combo off and then they just need that one last little ability to get off, Tail's End, the story is over. And then you can also do other shenanigans with Merfolk Trickster. So here my footage actually got corrupted, so I couldn't show exactly what happened, but basically Merfolk Trickster taps a creature and gets rid of all its abilities. So since the pig had haste, I used the Merfolk Trickster to tap that, and then the guy pretty much rage quit, which basically everybody did today. And then also make sure to keep track of your life. Your only life gain is aura, and you can get to life really low life really quickly if you don't have any auras. So another good thing is to be able to flash in some fun stuff. So right here I did want to try to flash in a Golos and use his ability on the next turn right away, but it didn't seem to work. But with Leyline of Anticipation, you can flash in all your spells at flash. Now it does not count for Slitherwisp, since the flash isn't on the text of the card. So Slitherwisp will not trigger off of this, but I mean, who doesn't want to just flash in a Golos on your opponent's turn? You think they expect that? Absolutely not. Now here's a very important lesson on how not to mess up. So we do run Lotus Field. Why do we run Lotus Field? Because we also run Kiora. So if we untap Kiora, use our untap ability, we basically get 6 mana a turn, which is crazy. So there's a couple things you can do here. First off, if you can't counter the ability, make sure you float the mana of the lands before you play the card. Also count your mana, which I did not do here, because you have to sacrifice 2 lands and it comes in tap. So if you have untapped mana and you just play it, you just wasted your mana. Another pro tip is that you can actually use Tail's End while using full control mode. So if you turn on full control, with Lotus Field, and you have Tail's End in your hand, when you play Lotus Field, full control will activate, cast Tail's End, and then it will ask you like, oh man, no, you don't want to counter your own spell? Yes, you do. And you'll get the Lotus Field untapped for free and no sacrificing lands. It's a busted combo. So that's the main point of the deck, is you really gotta handle threat assessment. So if you're just looking for like a mindless mono red type deck to farm wins, this probably won't be for you, as each decision can be very critical, especially like right here. He could just destroy all my creatures, but since I held up flash creature on purpose just to make sure something like this wouldn't happen, I'm able to flash that in, and then because now there's 3 creatures, I don't have to sacrifice the aura, and guess what? He has 6 health. So much for that cockiness. So now let's go on to the deck list. Alright, so we'll go quickly over the deck list. Of course, in the description is the download, copy and paste the Magic Arena. So we run 2 Merfolk Tricksters because that stops a lot of crazy plays. 1 Omen of the Sea. I was trying to run 2, but I was kind of running out of room here. It has flash and does let you draw. 2 Tail's End for the crazy combos and get rid of those legendaries. 4 Cunning Nightbonder. This I might swap out 1 for a different card. I'll show you in a second. But right now I'm running 4 Cunning Nightbonder only because it reduces the cost of spells by 1. And then they can't be countered, but since I'm mostly using best of 1 for this deck, I feel like I don't really need this card that much, or at least not 4 copies, I should say. 4 Growth Spiral, because that's ramp, obviously, you got a ramp. 3 Narsets, you could bump this down to 2, but it doesn't search for a lot of cards in the deck. 1 Bantu's Last Reckoning. This card is awesome. Don't be afraid of the lands you control don't untap, because if you do this correctly, and you have your threat assessment in line, you should be able to do this, and then your opponent's next turn, they shouldn't be able to kill you for the most part. So make sure to add at least 1 of these or some type of board wipe. Just make sure that it's a one-sided board wipe, because otherwise you have a lot of weak creatures with 2 toughness, which is why I didn't want to add in other things like Languish, because I didn't want to kill my own creatures, but then again, a lot of the time, if you have creatures on the field, you're usually ahead. 4 Slitherwisp, because that spams the ability. 2 Kiora, the first ability almost never goes off, but if you do have Kiora out and you have Oro, every time you play it, you draw extra cards, which is awesome, but otherwise you're mostly using it for the untap permanent. And then people start attacking it immediately because they start getting scared of it. It really technically doesn't do much in this deck other than untap stuff, but it also works with Lotus Field, which is always awesome. For 6 mana. 4 Uros, self-explanatory. 2 Ashiok's Erasure. Now this one's nice because it gets rid of Uros. Because it exiles them on the stack, and then while it can come back, so if they do, they can remove Ashiok's Erasure. That's the only issue. But if you're playing like best of 1, there isn't really that much enchantment removal that I can think of. I've almost never seen it. So this card is like basically a free counterspell, and they can't get Uro back in the graveyard because it's exiled by Ashiok's Erasure. 2 Leyline of Anticipation. This is to flash out anything else. So one thing I've been dying to do but haven't been able to do yet is to wait for your opponent to make like a big draw spell and then just flash out a Narset and then watch them draw nothing. 1 Vizier of Many Faces. This is an awesome card because it can copy any creature twice. So what I mean by twice is you can do it the first time, and then when it dies, you can use Embalm, where you can exile from your graveyard and do it again. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. 2 Ashiok Nightmare Muse, as already explained. 1 Golos because free cards, why not? Also, I'm pretty sure you can flash them in. I haven't been able to do it yet, but I'm pretty sure when you exile the cards, you can also flash them in. And then 1 Ulamog, because I'm just trying to get the meme out. I'm just trying to meme in an Ulamog for the fun. And then lands, you can pick whatever lands you want. I would suggest some utility lands like Castle Vantress, which allows you to scry. Maybe the triple lands, since we're running 3 colors, like Zagoth Triome. 1 Cascading Cataract. This is actually important. You need any type of land that can produce 5 colors, or at least 2 colors, whites and reds. It's not running those, so you can use the Golos, the Tireless, Pilgrim. I like using Cascading Cataracts. It's indestructible, and you can add any combination. 2 Fabled Passages, just in case you don't draw your basics. And then 1 Lotus Field. So that is the land. And then lastly, if you are looking to make it a little bit lower budget, or you don't like having Ulamog, technically it takes up too much space, and it's way too heavy mana cost. 1 Briarborn Cutthroat is good, because every time you play a flash spell, it gains counter. And then Octopus allows you to draw cards. If you hit the player, it also has flash. And then, of course, Nightpack Ambusher, which I probably should throw in, but this basically creates a free wolf almost every other turn if you're not playing any spells, which will happen a lot. So I thank you guys for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. Magic Arena has some major issues right now, so I'm hoping to have a video out about that. And I'm talking about major. I'm talking about like bugs like, oh, you draw 6 cards in your first hand, and out of 3 abilities, you can only choose 1. So it's a nightmare right now. It's a nightmare. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.